You've probably heard a lot about microtransactions the last few weeks. While I'll generally try not to add my voice to such a loud and maybe a bit annoying choir, I believe this one is at least singing an important song. But I'd like to take a slightly different angle with this TREVtalks and discuss how microtransactions, and sometimes pre-order bonuses, can detract from the gameplay experience of a video game. To start off, I'm not actually entirely against the idea of microtransactions in video games. Done well, they can provide funding for a developer to continue to support the game after launch. I think my best example of this is Grand Theft Auto Online. While I don't generally like to see microtransactions in a full-price video game, Rockstar has used them to release huge amounts of free DLC. Where it started as a rather empty mode, it has grown to be overflowing with high-quality content, and it's still being expanded 4 years after its initial release. If you're not familiar with GTA Online, the microtransactions come in the form of buying in-game cash that can be used to purchase vehicles, guns, clothes, or properties. Cash can be earned in-game, so the microtransactions basically work as a shortcut to getting the thing you want. It's a delicate system, but I feel Rockstar now provides players a reasonable amount of cash income outside the microtransactions. But Grand Theft Auto Online aside, there are a number of annoying and some downright alarming trends associated with microtransactions in video games, especially recently. My first concern is that microtransactions have been popping up in tons of games recently, and tons of full-priced games, and without even pretending that they're helping fund free quality updates. Save for a few halfway done reskins or throwaway items for you to spend more money on. They are transparently there only to have further access to your money. The second, and far larger, is the rise of loot boxes. These have been popping up in nearly every AAA video game, even if publishers have to downgrade the games to fit them in. For those who have never experienced this system made famous among salivating publishers and infamous among the players, loot box systems are essentially slot machines. You either spend a lot of time to earn a box, or spend some money to earn one, and are given a random assortment of crap, but with a chance of one thing being good. These boxes might include new skins for characters, new guns, new skins for guns, new lines for your character to say, XP boosters, or, more likely, something you already have. I wouldn't care if these were only earned in-game. I might actually kind of enjoy them. But the inclusion of money in this gambling system, gambling made available to children, but that's a whole other topic, gives companies every reason to make that unpaying grind to get what you want as slow and torturous as possible. If a player makes the choice to pay extra in a video game, chance should not be a factor. But on to how loot boxes can affect the experience. Forza 7 has met with some controversy recently, being another game revamped to include loot boxes. And while the audience is split on if the change is good or bad, having allegedly given the game a better sense of progression, I can't help but feel the change was made by a cynical company only interested in the extra money they can make, not the experience of the players. And while I'm sure Team 10 tried their hardest to polish the turd Microsoft handed them, in the end, it's still a bunch of crap. Placing a loot box system is not only dishonest, it's downright insulting to the artistry of the developers who worked hard to create the game. But perhaps the most recent and topical example is the case of Middle-earth: Shadow of War. When it was announced that the game would feature microtransactions, it was met with a collective, huh? Then details began to emerge. The loot boxes would come in two forms. One that would feature equipment for your character, and one that would give you orcs for your army. The first one is annoying, but the second is where I take issue. The Shadow of War games essentially boil down to the player and their interactions with the orcs generated by the Nemesis system. An incredible system that procedurally generates orcs to have a specific look and personality that can be affected by the player through aggressive, or now in Shadow of War, friendly ways. The first game got rave reviews and was loved by audiences because the way the system allowed players to have their own unique story. There was and still is nothing quite like it, save for the sequel. And that is why the inclusion of loot box orcs irritates me so much. Much like in real life, first impressions are a big deal. And by depriving the player of that chance to meet the orc naturally in the game, it's making the experience that much cheaper, that much lesser. It's insulting to the developers who have worked so hard on this innovative system. And I know that players can preserve their experience by simply choosing not to buy the orc boxes, but it hurts the game that the option is there, especially with such a manipulative system that keeps the constant flow of temptation on players in the form of not-so-casual nods to the storefront and what is allegedly a spike in difficulty to get the true ending of the game. Though I can't confirm it for myself, reviewers have said that the true ending of the game is hidden behind a mode that requires either a lot of grinding to get powerful orcs, or some strategic purchases. I'll have to see for myself how much grinding that requires, but if it's true, then it's more disappointing than ever. So before you open your wallet to buy whatever microtransaction is offered to you, I'd advise you consider what exactly it is you're buying. Something cool and fun, or something that's depriving you of the full experience the game is offering. And if there's an element of chance in it, I'd ask you to resist giving the company your money at all. Gambling has become all too common in video games, complete with unnecessarily flashy sequences meant to trigger that reward center of your brain. Microtransactions may be a reality of games today, but that doesn't mean we can't work to make them better. In an industry that is full of highly talented individuals, both they and we deserve better.